Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Morning Market Movers, where we do live analysis for day trading and take a look at hotspots in the markets for today, Tuesday, April 26th. My name is Todd Rich. I'm with Nadex. With me, as always, from Keep Trading Simple, the CEO of Keep Trading Simple, Brian Caprice. What are we looking at today? One, not a lot of volatility going on. Commodities relatively flat with the exception of natural gas. Nat gas, Brian talks a lot about parabolic moves. We saw nat gas get hammered at the end of last week. It has retraced all of that. So looking at a parabolic move, we can take a look over at nat gas. Nat gas is up again this morning. The one market that seems to be extremely volatile. Not seeing tremendous movement in the FX markets. And then we've got equities. And what's going to be interesting today is in the equity markets, we could see some pre-positioning in the NASDAQ index. We've got two huge earnings after the bell today. We've got Google and we've got Microsoft. Google, a 1.6, $1.7 trillion company. Microsoft, a $2 trillion company. If there's some volatility there, if there's a gap there, that can certainly impact the NASDAQ index. So we are going to be certainly looking at that. And then the one other fun piece of news, as Nadex is now owned by Crypto.com, and know that there is going to be crypto product coming to Nadex. And we are working on that diligently. So something to look forward to. And I know that we'll be adding crypto into our discussions. But the big news today, and this will certainly make some headlines, is Fidelity is going to allow 401k retirement savers to hold crypto in their 401k. That's actually pretty big news because they are a fairly large, one of the largest 401k providers out there. And they're actually not any crypto for that fact. They're going to allow people to hold Bitcoin. So 401 Fidelity going to be allowing 401k savers to hold Bitcoin in their 401k. Certainly interesting news there. All right, before we jump over to the charts, we take a look at some of the headlines for today. I do need to share this disclaimer that trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for everyone, that any trading decisions you make are solely your responsibility and at your own risk. And this is an educational session. Please do not construe anything Brian or I say as a buy or sell recommendation. We are doing this for your education purposes. Now, I just wanted to show this quickly. You can see we were the weekend gap here, but if you take a look at where we were on Friday, nat gas got hammered, and here we are on Tuesday, and we're back. That is a parabolic move. Brian teaches that. If you got more questions about that, I'll give you Brian's email at the end. And if you want to know more about parabolic moves, I know we've done some webinars on those, and they're available on the Nadex YouTube channel. But that was a large move down and a parabolic retracement. So with that, Brian, let me flip it over to you. Let's take a look at what else is going on with some headlines in some of these markets. And definitely thinking that we want to highlight at some point some levels in the NASDAQ because I expect to see something. I mean, with Google and Microsoft coming out, who knows what's in store.
Yep. Yeah, I was just looking at Bitcoin. It's funny that Fidelity is talking about adding that or allowing it. When you look at the performance over the last year, it's down 26%. Yeah, it's down 26%. The last 6 months, minus 33%. So, yeah, just again, it's a celebration, but at the same time, use caution. It's like year to date, it's down 12.5. So there's that. Yeah, so there was a little bit of currency movement. The yen, magically, I would love to say that the yen is weakening, but the yen is still strengthening. It is still going down. Dollar yen down 84, pound yen down 177. So that magical number that we've been looking for, the 130. We heard all the talk. It's so weak. It's so weak. It's so weak. And then there was actually some fake news. Basically, where is it? I had it in here somewhere. Basically, the media report says, listen, we didn't have any discussions about that joint intervention. I knew it sounded a little bit strange, and they basically said, we didn't have anything like that, so I don't know where that's coming from. The former chief basically also said that the yen at 130, 135 is not really a disaster for the Japanese economy. He does not believe that the government wants yen intervention right now. So Interesting that that's all we were hearing is like, listen, they get to 130, they're going to intervene, and the former chief is saying, yeah, 130, 135 is not really a big deal, guys. Um, Again, they are an export-based nation. They love when it's weak. It helps them. We were trying to figure out where the too weak is weak type scenario is, and the former chief says, "Listen, even at 135, it's not a big deal." And again, looking at that one, we can see that this is continuing to push lower. We got to adjust some of the targets on this one, but we're back down to 127.31. So I mean, the 131 we got close once, and now we're just retreating, 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 and it's kind of in that downward channel. So we'll see where it goes. Um, Durable goods this morning. I was hoping it was going to be a good number. Good as in it was, or there, two greens, two reds. Unfortunately, it's a split. There was a little bit of an adjustment on both of them. A point 0.6 to a point 0.5, and what was it? A minus 2.2 to a minus 2.1. So slight adjustments, but again, 1.1 above. Core durable good orders were up big, and then durable good orders were up, but not quite as much as what we thought. So consumer confidence will come in at 10 today. It's both expected to be better. Um, We'll see. Normally, consumer confidence is not necessarily the biggest mover out there, but again, with lack of any other news, we'll see. Now, tonight at 9:30, we do have CPI quarterly for the Aussie. The Aussie has been definitely getting beaten up, so that's one to kind of watch out for. There are some comments earlier. Where is it down here? That Russia, it looks like they will be able to avoid a recession in the next 12 months. Is kind of what they're saying. We'll see, but tonight the CPI is really where we're going to kind of see what's happening. And again, they haven't really gone crazy with their interest rate rises yet, but again, it's expected to go from 1.1 last quarter to 1.7 this quarter, and even the trim going from 1 to 1.2. So
and that's
it's kind
tonight.
of those.
It's 9:30 p.m. tonight.
Yeah, 9 to 30 p.m. Eastern time. So again, you won't have the U.S. influence on that one. Shouldn't be too much gold influence, but it gives us the opportunity to again take advantage of a news release. If you guys remember yesterday, and I'll cover this in a chart too. Remember, I mentioned that Macklin was speaking. He was just testifying. He wasn't raising interest rates or anything like that, but as much as the dollar CAD had gone up, it was given an opportunity for a short. When I flip it over to charts, I definitely want to bring this up because with my group, I talked about two potential setups and how you play these releases. It's the same thing that you would do tonight with the Aussie. Not really any different, and it's not really any different than how I trade any news. But yesterday, I gave an example. Actually, went into the Nadex platform, talked about different options to trade it and kind of what the risks were associated with it. And again, these are the same for all the different asset classes. So in all these news releases, that's why I keep covering these. But again, the big outliers right now, obviously, are the pound yen. And again, both of them are weak versus the dollar. The dollar's actually up at 102 right now, the dollar index. I'll flip over to that right now. Where is it? Dollar index here. So it's crazy having it up here. I mean, normally, you see it back in ranges. I'll just, shrink this down. We're used to seeing it, it's been moving, but, you're used to seeing it kind of hover around the 95 to like 98 area. Up at 102 is definitely kind of an outlier. And we haven't raised interest rates yet. We don't know what it's going to be. We know they're happening. They're definitely going to do it. And a lot of this started when they cut all the quantitative easing. So it means that they are at least somewhat serious. 102 is a pretty high number. I'd love to say that, hey, listen, this is kind of that calm before the storm. That whole buy the rumor, sell the news. That's kind of what I think this is getting into right now. That, again, it may be more of an opinion where they come out with a 0.5 and the market is so disappointed that that dollar's value goes down that they think that the 0.75. And I'm curious to see what percentage thinks 0.5 versus 0.75 at this point. And if the Fed will actually go that far. They have mentioned front loading, but they are saying front loading 0.5, which is not front loading, but we'll see. So anyway, that's pretty high up there. And again, you have that 9:30, and then tomorrow morning, you really don't have much. It's just a bunch of small speeches and things like that in the overnight. So not too much to worry about with that. Looking at overall things, big movers right now. Obviously, Todd wanted to mention, NQ. I think there's some levels here to kind of look out for, but right now it's kind of like it's not really kind of telling us where it wants to go. With the earnings later on today, the movement will happen after hours. So there may be some pre-positioning though. So again, if you are looking for a trade, the way that you can play this is there is one Nadex asset that does not kind of expire at the end of the day, right? That just goes until Friday. That may be where to play this today. Right now, we're kind of in the middle of in like kind of the middle of the range. If I was to draw probably a fib from here down, it's probably a 50. Yeah, we're sitting right at the 50%. If you take this last, the push from yesterday down, we're sitting right at the 50% mark right now. Really, the two areas I'm looking for in NQ is up here, right around, what is it, 13,740, right? Up there is a decent level. If you take the last kind of high to low, that's right at the 50% mark as well. That would be a turning point. And then obviously we found some buyers coming in at 13, 220.50. Is that a great launching point? I don't necessarily love it, but I think if the price is able to kind of deteriorate today and come down to this level, for earnings, if you think about it, earnings have been pretty good. If Google and that's Google and Microsoft, right?
Google and Microsoft.
Yeah. Those they throw how much money did you add up? You said it's what, 4 trillion?
Yeah, just shy of 4 trillion in
Yeah,
market
so
cap.
it's a little bit of money. I mean, it's a little bit of money, right? Um, if they both report what, do well with the reporting, like almost everybody has done, that should be a big boom for the NQ. That could be a great opportunity to find something like a knockout, right? If we can have this come down and kind of stabilize and we get something that's a little bit close, it will be a little bit choppy. There will be a little bit more volatility in it, but this is where you kind of use these products. You could use something on a weekly basis or their call spreads or binaries as well, but those tend to have much wider ranges versus this initial kind of spike. Where again, if you can sneak it in with a knockout, could be a good opportunity there to be able to take advantage of it. So, and
okay,
again,
I was just going to
the
chime in.
ingredients are there.
Yeah, so the ingredients are there. It's something to look at the end of the day if you wanted to, depending upon what you're looking at and what you think might happen. And there is some volatility expected. I know they're priced into the market right now. Microsoft, I know that the at the money straddle was kind of predicting a 6% gap in Microsoft, one way or the other. I don't know, up or down, which is a fairly big move. I didn't get a chance to look at the Google gap. I'll take a look at that in a second here, though. But a move could create some reciprocity in the Nasdaq, and there could be some opportunities there going long or short with a knockout going into the end of the day when I mean, it's an idea. It's an idea. Not telling you to do it. It's just something you might want to.
No, and it's like I said, you got to see what the market gives you first. It's not, that's a lot of people are like, well, what should I do right now? And that's not how you trade. You kind of have to look at it, and I'm a big believer in setting and forgetting. And for me, that's kind of the plan. Like yesterday, I mentioned earlier yesterday, I talked about the dollar CAD, and I'll go over that right now because it's kind of a similar scenario. And again, I'll do my best not to run over today on this one. This is where we were yesterday, and we had mentioned that, hey, listen, Macklin's speech was going to be extremely important. We had planned this before if we could find something close to that. And we got right up until that time frame when I was meeting with my students afterwards at 10:30. I was looking at this like, we got 30 minutes to go. We're sitting right there. There's one knockout that's probably going to go because he hasn't even spoke yet, and we were a couple points from it. We had another one that was pretty deep in that range. And I got to move this out of the way. This blue, here, I'll turn it blue so you can see it. That blue box was the knockout. And I said, listen, it's a great opportunity. He's probably going to mention something. They're going to say, hey, inflation is bad. What are you going to do about it, right? Because that's what testimony is. And at that time, I was looking for something that was going to, go farther. You can see it came all the way down, and then about midnight last night, it actually broke the bottom side of it. So when I was looking at it, it had about $25 worth of risk. I always talk about a 1 to 3 risk reward ratio. Risking 25 to get in, the full pad on the other side is getting you that 100 there. So it was one of those things. There was a bunch of things lined up, but it was not. I wasn't like, what do I do right now? I was like, well, if it kind of comes up into here, this is what I'm looking for. Here's my plan. And then I did the same thing with a binary. Now I used an 11 p.m. binary. Why? Because it was the dollar CAD. The dollar was strong. I needed more time for everything to unfold. And there was an initial response down, but by 11 o'clock when it expired, you can see this little black dash. I don't know if you guys can see the black dash. There's a black dash right here. That's where that's where the final candle was. So it was one of those ones that $13.75 risk, and it went all day long. And did I need to wait till expiration? No, and I wouldn't. You wouldn't in this case where it pushes all the way down. So again, you have two different opportunities. So it's about planning, and that's why something like this Aussie CPI is a very big thing right now. Why? Because the number one issue in the world is not really Ukraine; it's inflation. Supply chain. It's everywhere. Every nation is dealing with it, right? So it's a big deal, particularly for Australia. It's a big release knowing that. Again, you can go back over and look at the Aussie positions and say, hey, listen, we're kind of pushing down here. We've already found buyers down there once. If we come back down to that level, could that be an opportunity to go long? It could, sure. But you got to see what it does today. Aussie yen, kind of the same thing. Aussie yen is just going, it's just down, 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 down. It's continuing to drive lower. It just happens to be that we know we have sellers down here, and we talked about this before. This is a larger time frame level at 90.37. So tonight, I mean, it has plenty of time to run through a level here. If you're looking at this, you can say, all right, well, is that a potential trade? It needs to move 103 pips. Can it do 103 pips from now till 9:30 tonight, 12 hours? Technically, it could. That's kind of a lot of movement, but who knows what's going to happen with the yen. Maybe what it does is it kind of stabilizes itself, and all of a sudden we have a level sitting right here, right? I'll take this one off. Maybe this is the new level, right? We have a level of basing. It came back, it tested, it couldn't go any lower, it bounced off of it, and then it kind of took off. Maybe if it just meanders around sideways, this is the takeoff point for later on this evening. You know, maybe throughout the day it rallies higher, which to me, when it rallies higher before the news, that typically means somebody knows something. You're looking to go short. So a lot of cool things to watch. And again, in a few hours, we'll be able to kind of get a better read on that one. Natural gas it was the big mover, and again, this is the level we talked about yesterday, getting back up at that $7 mark. We did get back up at the $7 mark. It kind of retraced all the way back up from 630 to 7. It's now actually at about a 1-to-1 from that level. We had talked about it as well as a potential short area. Gold is also retracing a little bit. I wouldn't say that gold's trajectory has changed, but it's kind of getting, you're seeing the profit taking come in, and it pushed really, really far. Same thing with silver. I mean, silver was all the way down, and yeah, silver is technically up. And this is how I can tell you there's no trend. Silver technically is moving twice as fast as gold. Right now, gold is up 0.23, silver is up 0.2. So they're almost identical right now. They both to me look like when a US trader comes in line, it looks like both of these could roll lower. And again, could we hit 23 today? Looks like it could be on the cards. It's really just going sideways, but there's no true direction. Oil, unfortunately, also popped in the overnight. And again, not much. It's 1%, but I will say watch oil today. It is Tuesday. We will talk about this later. We do get the oil inventory report for those of you that can't get to the noon session. We are really kind of getting up there and flirting with not only the $125 mark, but we're also, hold on one second. Also the $125 mark, but it's a 50% retracement from the last high to low. So kind of keep an eye on that. The VIX is a little bit higher. It's about 3%. Where it closed, it's not nearly all the way up. I have the little one.
Oh, is that Jen? Yay! Yeah. We haven't had Jen on for a while.
I know. She's like, look at yourself. See yourself in the camera? You see yourself?
These are the best days ever.
So it is up a little bit. There are some headlines out there to watch for that as well, particularly with, again, they mentioned the nuclear word yesterday, but also today, 4 hours ago, we haven't really seen it in our markets yet. Russia's warning Japan that they will retaliate if the scale of the U.S. naval exercises increases. It's always a hot button when they do naval exercises. The problem is they are right on that border. They do kind of share like a sea border over there. We do exercises with Japan all the time, but the way that Russia's going to look at this is, the U.S. is directly a thorn in their side. They would attack, if they attack that side, it's kind of a big deal. So it is probably a hot button for Russia. It's something they need to watch out for, and I think the VIX could raise because of it. Oh, hold on, you're going to take the headset with you. So watch out for that today. And that's kind of it. Besides that, there's not any other major news out there that I watch. And again, this was the one I just mentioned that Lavrov mentioned that,
right,
warned of serious danger of nuclear conflict. It's like, oh God, that's the one thing we don't want is that guy to talk about, mention the N word.
Yeah.
Nuclear and Russia in the same sentence, or nuclear coming out of a Russian mouth is not what we want to hear. Yeah. So let's see. But anyway, catch us in 3 hours. We'll get a little bit more idea of what's going on with the opening print. Like I said, everything is in the red currently right now. And again, they're all kind of bouncing back. ES, just as a quick look, ES, if we took that kind of in the larger grand scheme of things, it's not a 50, but when you look at where the basing was to where the low was, we just bounced off the 50 going down. So again, the ES is kind of more in that kind of negative kind of feeling right now. NQ kind of doing the same thing. And if I run it from here down, it's probably a little higher in this one. Yeah, 61.8 kind of reversal on there, not as clean. And again, kind of turned it at like 1 o'clock in the morning, so not a big turn. Again, core durable goods is obviously a YM tool. Again, going from high to low, came back up, and we knew we already had a level there. Bounced off to 50 and is also retracing. So again, that one you should already be short. And then Russell, kind of the same thing. It came back up and did more or less the same thing. High to low, 50%. We already had a level there. We had it marked off. None of the indices is an outlier right now. It's minus 0.56, minus 0.57, minus 0.61, and minus 0.68. So they're basically all exactly the same.
They're pulling back a little bit after. I mean, listen, the markets got absolutely hammered. We got some relief rally yesterday, and I think some people are just, again, taking a little bit of risk off, waiting to see what's going to happen. And again, we're in earnings season too, so you just don't know.
And like I said, I do honestly believe if you look at everybody else's out there, if you look at the sector, what Microsoft and Google is it going to be as high maybe as it was before? No, but are they still going to perform their earnings? I think so. Remember, they are two companies that are not really as affected by supply chain. Really, isn't inflation not as bad? Supply chain, we know for electronics has really gotten a whole lot better, and because Microsoft is more software based, not hardware based. Again, they don't really have the same supply chain issues. So
Right.
again, people out there spending money, probably spending money on those services as well. Has the potential to be good. Has the potential to drive in the NQ higher. So again, NQ down today. We're looking for the same opportunity, but we'll cover it more at noon.
Okay. With that, and again, now, first of all, that link for noon, I put it in there. Every Tuesday, there's a full-blown midday session that takes a look at where we are on a Tuesday and then what we've got to look forward to for the rest of the week. If you're not registered, please click on that link, register. And if you can't join, if you register, you will get access to the recording. So that is, I dropped that in the chat there on the right. Any questions for Nadex, please email us, customerservice@nadex.com. Brian and I are also very accessible. We put our emails up every day. If you got any questions for Brian, please feel free to reach out to him. Support@keeptradingsimple.com. If you've got some things you'd like to hear us be doing more or less of, things you like that we're doing, things that you're concerned about, please share with me, todd.rich@nadex.com. Very accessible as well. Brian and I answer our own emails. And again, just quickly, what we're looking at today, equity markets looking a little soft. Did see the pop up in nat gas. Commodities all kind of slow, and expect to see a little bit of volatility. I did look it up. Microsoft right now, I mean, this is early in the day. Microsoft is pricing in a 6% gap. Or a 6% move at the moment. Google, it's a 7% move. At the end of the day, I could actually look at this even better. And if you're curious how I do that, you simply look at the money front month straddle. You add the call and the put together. There's going to be a price for the call. There's going to be a price for the put, and I believe they've got an expiration this Friday, so it's only got a couple of days of premium in there. You can add that up, and you can see what price, dollar value, the market is pricing in a move in that stock with the earnings coming out. And to get the percentage move, you just divide that number by the stock price. So for Google, for instance, it's around 24.60. I think the at the money straddles around 180 bucks. So $180 move, $180 out of 24.60, a 7% move. So a quick little lesson there on trying to see what the market is determining how a stock might move. That will or could potentially impact the NASDAQ index as well as the broader markets. So with that, thank you so much for joining us. If you like what we're doing, would appreciate if you gave us a like on Facebook or a like on YouTube. Brian and I do appreciate that. Please join us in 3 hours. In 3 hours for the midday session today. Otherwise, we will be back tomorrow morning. And thank you to our special guest, Jen, who's we could kind of see a little bit of. Love it when the kids join. With that, thanks for joining everyone, and good luck in the markets.